Welcome back to the Tiger Game Hanger. This is Mike, and happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well this weekend. Today I want to talk to you more about this pricing of Fanstoys and their Jester and their Viper and all the reissues. And it turns out we've got another retailer basically confirming the prices. We're going to talk about this, dig into this, because there's some issues. I have a lot to say. I did touch on it in my news, but now that we have more information, more or less, backed up by another retailer, then we can discuss this, dig a little bit deeper, and I'm going to talk about the future issues that this is bringing about coming up. Okay, so the first thing I want to really talk about is the fact that they're reissuing some of the older figures, which is fine. That's no problem at all. Reissue the figures. When this came out, it was $115, and I pretty much remember it being $115 everywhere. $115 here, maybe it was even cheaper than $115, like $109 or something at Show Z, but $115 is a good price for this. But now it is $220. Now, a lot of people brought that up. A lot of problem with $220 pricing, and I have to admit, I don't know what Show Z's price is just yet. So, this is still a year out. This is estimated arrival of September of 2024. But $220. I got a lot of problems with that being a 91% price increase when they've already got the molds. They've already spent that large investment, the upfront investment of the mold, and we're able to deliver it for $115. Now I know we've had rampant inflation that's greater than we've seen in 40 years. We know that. That's going on, but it's still not to the level of 91% increase when your largest expense is already covered. So that's one big issue right there. Getting the old ones and catching up is now going to cost you $220. That is kind of crazy. Now, a lot of people in the past when we saw this didn't blame Fanstoys, they blamed the retailers, and we will see what Show Z puts up, but I almost can guarantee you Show Z being lower than this, hopefully like a 200 price point, or even back down to something in reality like 120 or 130. But I have no idea when they put theirs up and what the prices will be on that. Now, coincidentally, I actually don't remember what I paid for this Maverick because it's really been so long, and I didn't want to dig through 150 orders or something to try to figure out how much I paid for it. But Maverick, I thought mine was 180, and so it might have been 220. But if it was 180, even at 180, if I'm wrong, even at 180, it's only a 38% increase. So this one didn't go up as much, but he doesn't really do anything. I mean, he's not. I don't know if 100% he's going to be necessary to put in for combiner mode. And there's still a lot of question on how you even transform him. What does he do? So, anyhow, this isn't that big of a price increase percentage-wise, but it's still going to sting. Of course, we've got to toss Goose in there. Goose is also $220. So, they're great figures. Now, I do want to point out, before we go any further, I love Fanstoys products. I like their figures. I'm not bashing them. I'm just confused about price, and I'm just echoing what the entire community is saying price-wise. But $220 is quite a bit of money for these figures, but they are nice figures, and they look really good on the shelf. And those of us that got them for $115 can feel good about still having them for $115. But will there be any improvements? Are there going to be any changes to them? I know they like to make changes to usually the 7-year-old molds when they put them out, but not the 4 or 5. I don't know when they put it out last, but the ones that aren't as old. I don't know if they're going to make any changes to it. Anything's going to be different. And I know that Lupus had some color variations to it. They fixed the ankles to it. I doubt they'll do anything to this, though. I think it'll be a straight reissue, exactly the same, unless there's some slight paint variation. The next thing I want to discuss is a little maths here. And now you don't see Goose right there, but 220 plus 220 plus 220 is 660. Then you add in another 249. Then you add in 400. And as you can see, we're getting close to the $1,400 mark. Because once you add in the tax on it, which from these U.S. retailers, most states, you have to pay sales tax. You're at the $1,400 plus mark for the combiner, which is kind of crazy. And that's not what people expected when they set out to collect this. We're setting out thinking $100 per limb, a little more for the main bot, and a little more for the combiner pieces, but not $400. Okay, so let's get into this gesture of high prices. So there's a couple of problems here with this. Now, it's not just that it's $400, but that's a huge problem, so that's the biggest problem. Number one, what if you do not need the combiner parts? Because there are people out there in a lot of different scenarios that are getting juiced for no reason, and they're the ones that are the most upset. Some people do not want to combine this. They saw that it was going to take a while to come out. They invested in a Zeta combine mode, and they just want a team of bots or a team of planes, but probably the bots, to display. Now they're forced to buy additional parts. Now, $200 worth of parts? No, I guess it's $180 worth of parts because of their new pricing structure and pricing scheme. But now you can't get it separately. And other people have said, okay, well, maybe you just want to buy this and you can sell your combiner parts. But who's going to buy the combiner parts if they don't have the last limb? You're going to have an armless guy, or you're going to have two of the same arm, and why bother buying combiner parts and then buying another of the same arm? You need it all. So this is a precarious situation, which X-Transbots did get a lot of flack for theirs, but at least they gave you the option. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Next up, they don't even show pictures of the combiner parts. Now, I will tell you that I went and looked back at all the pictures from the listings from Zeta's Superion, and you didn't see what exactly the combiner parts were from all of the listings, but I for some reason we saw it. Maybe it's not on the listings on these sites, but I know I saw them well before the figure came in. We knew what we were getting. We knew what was going to be in the box. We knew all about it. But nobody knows exactly what the combiner parts are, or constructed of, or how they come. Does it come as a giant chunk? Now, I pulled this picture from Zeta's Devastator. I actually built that one. I'm in the process of building the Magic Square one and comparing the two. It's Legends. But they give you this picture of the chunk of parts that's going to combine their Devastator, so you know exactly what you're getting. There's no surprise. It's not oh, here we go, it's parts for me. We don't know exactly how Fanstoys is going to work or look or come together still with the $400 pre-order up there. And if you pre-order one of these places that make you pay up front, which I don't know who does, but if you do pre-order one of those places, sight unseen of what exactly the combiner parts are, how they're going to work, all that. Now, if somebody does have pictures of what the combiner parts are going to look like, or what it looks like separated from this picture that we've seen, I'd like to see that. Alright, so if you want to display your team, then you can't do it without having some combiner parts laying around that you don't need, or you won't be using. If you buy 3 sets, now I know people that buy 3 sets, or some people that just buy 2, but I know people that buy 3 sets of the Fanstoys stuff because they're that deep into Fanstoys, then you are overpaying for 2 figures of combiner parts you'll not need. Now, down the road, if you want to sell it as a set and have the combiner parts, that's probably going to come in handy. But most of these people are collecting for their collection, not for future gain or future resell. And I know people like that. People that have 7 of the 6 shots of the Hydras. And that kind of screws them over. But I tell you, Fanstoys isn't even concerned about that. And I'll tell you why here in a bit. But now we get into sort of a future issue. And it is with their Minosaur. So what are they going to do with their combiner parts? Their trailer that's coming in. Is that going to come as a separate purchase? Because we've already got some pre-update that it will come with the last figure. So will it be a trailer packed in the box with, is it Dead End, the last one that we need to complete the set? And will they reissue all the other ones at the same time too? I mean, the stuff we don't really know, but if they reissue it, it's going to be $220 a figure. I mean, it's crazy because these were like right at $100 a figure, $105 or something, and then that they're going to come out at $220 or $199 or something. So the future of what's going to happen with this set is kind of being predicted with what's going on with the Superion set. But then X-Transbots has already solved this problem, but Fanstoys is continuing with it. So X-Transbots gave us this trailer, and it converted into this base, which I don't really care for. And Fanstoys is going to convert it to some sort of base too. But this was $200 when it came out. Now I think if you try to get one now with a reissue, it's like $250. And the reason X-Transbots isn't going to get as much flack nowadays is because of the fact that they give you the option to not buy it at all. Like, if you don't want to buy a trailer and you just want to have the team, then you can have the team. Or if you want one built and you want a team, or you want one of 3 sets. You want a combined mode, you want a bot mode, you want alt mode. You don't have to buy this thing. You don't have to. But It's still there, it's still an option, and good luck transforming it if you do. But I'm starting to feel like this thing here, this FT40, this Fort Max, is a pipe dream. Because if it's going to cost us to get a combiner, now $1,400, which shouldn't have been $1,400, but if it's going to cost $1,400 to make a combiner, to build a combiner, what's this going to cost? Now, I understand this is going to have a lot of bigger parts, less die cast, less paint apps, probably very little paint percentage-wise compared to what they do now, where some of the figures are coated head to toe in paint. This will be mostly bare plastic with paint accents and decos all around it. But will this even happen now? And if it does, like, the $1,000 expectation is probably out the door, and the people that were guessing $2,000 or $2,500 are probably closer to correct. And so that brings in a lot more questions, but it also brings in more concern that this is probably not going to happen. And that is a concern of mine, because I thought this was pretty cool. It was pretty cool they were making it, but it looks like they probably are not, or if they do, only a few people are going to buy it because it's going to be that expensive. One more thing I want to point out is, and I'm not exactly sure about this set, but I didn't buy it because I already had one, but I'm thinking you were able to pick one up for $619 as a full set. I don't know if X-Transbots did this, or if TF Source just bundled it all together and sold it all at once. Does not include trailer though, so that's another $200 on top of that, making it $870. So yeah, I wasn't really part of this whole thing, but this kind of bundle that's going on right here, like, will we ever see anything like it with Fanstoys, or is this just a one-time deal at one retailer? And I gotta say that when it comes to Fanstoys, people do complain a little bit about when they have a minor quality control issue, or a major one, but they do complain about it because they're so used to accepting perfection or expecting perfection from Fanstoys that the number one complaint these days is price and the wait for the issue, but the waiting for this to come out. But the price is so darn high, and now they've almost doubled it. It just is mind-blowing. So I'm curious. Well, I've heard what a lot of people have to say, but I'm curious where everybody stands on this a week later, where nothing's really changed for the positive, and it's only staying the status quo, which is not very good. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and Tydirium Hanger out.